Welcome to another segment of provocative conversations, destined to provoke further thought and spark greater questions regarding God, church, and the religious establishments of both the past and the present. I am the proud heretic, Mr. Provocateur himself. The present reality of Adam's forgiveness, part 2. The present reality of Adam's forgiveness. In part 1, I spoke of why Adam is in the topic of this teaching or verbal expounding. It speaks of mankind, humankind, the man-child. And of course, that includes women. It's the human, or should I say the body of humans, the bodies of humanity, the souls of those of us who are of the human race. When you look up Adam, it'll pull you back into just simply mankind. So the reality of Adam's forgiveness has to do with Adam's, not just Adam, but mankind's forgiveness. There's a present reality today. There's a present truth today in regards to whatever sin you may commit, or people have all these things, sins of commission and sins of omission. The things that you commit outright, the things that you omit by either through your ignorance, because there's verses in the Bible that says, if a soul shall sin through ignorance or in his ignorance, of course, the sins of omission, you omit to do some things. There's a verse in the Bible that said, well, yeah, you ought to have done these things, but you shouldn't have left those things undone. So it's like, really, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. But those type sins too, you did it over here and monked up. So you got sins of commission, and you didn't do it over here and you monked up, because those are sins of omission. Whatever it is that you see as being sin, I have my take on sin, so-called sin. I have my take on it. I'll share it as I go, if I get to it. So the present reality of Adam's sin, I spoke about Adam's forgiveness. Adam has already been forgiven. He's not trying to be forgiven. He's already forgiven. Mankind, you individually, everything that was ever going to be committed has already been forgiven. If there was ever any need in any sense of the way to be forgiven of anything. However, if we're going to follow the storyline of Adam and Eve, and then all the way up to the point of Christ being the second Adam and all of that, and then the purpose behind Christ, and, to take away the sin of the world and die for the sins of the world, all mankind, the present reality of Adam's forgiveness. And then I went over forgiveness. I went over the definition of forgiveness, and whether you realize it or not, I went over remit something, remission, to impute, to eradicate, because all of these things, that's what God in and through the storyline of Christ did. He eradicated that which was there. He's no longer imputing what we do or what we fail to do against us. He's not counting it. He's not keeping an account of it. He's making a list. No, he's not making a list. You're making a list. They're making a list, but God is not making a list. Okay. God has already remitted. It's already been dealt with. It's already been sent back. However, there's no more punishment due, no more payment due. God has already made the payment. He has already paid in full with his blood. It's already been applied. It's a done deal. God has already freed you. He's relieved you. He's released you. He's dismissed it all. He's pardoned it all. He's divorced himself from it. He's divorced you from that. You've departed from that. Just let it go. He's already let you go. Just let it loose. He's already loosed you. He's put it away. You put it away. He's already done it. I don't care what it is. I don't care how heinous it is or heinous it is. I don't care how heartless it is, how gut-wrenching it is to even say or admit what you did. It is what happened. Understand this. I've been saying this for many, many years now. Even though you commit the act, it does not mean that you are the act that you committed. Even though you commit the act, it does not mean that you are the act itself that you committed. Don't define yourself by the act itself. I would do that there for years and years. I defined myself by some of the acts that I found myself involved in over the years, from my childhood all the way up into adulthood. You know, they say if you say a thing long enough, it'll become truth to you, or it'll become real to you. So you just keep repeating stuff, repeating it until the line between truth and reality is blotted out and it all bleeds in together and you don't know what's what. You know, it's erased. You don't want to keep rehashing a thing and keep rolling it over in your mind, pondering it to the point that it grips you and grabs you, and then it holds you hostage to something that God has already forgiven you of. Your forgiveness in God, mankind's forgiveness in God, is a reality. Now, whether or not it's real to you, whether or not you're experiencing it in your life, that's a whole different story, but it's still a reality. And it's a present reality. It's not a future reality. It's a present reality. Your forgiveness of sin, your forgiveness of the wrongs or the things that people count as being sin, no matter how heinous it is, no matter how much people choke on it to hear it, wherever it's wrong or wherever you conceive it to be wrong, God has already taken care of that. Wherever others conceive it to be wrong, God has already taken care of that. And again, there is no so-called sea of forgetfulness or sea of forgiveness. There is no sea. It says he'll remove your sins from you. The depths of the sea, meaning it speaks more of distance, separating it from you in distance, not necessarily a specific sea called the sea of forgetfulness or the sea of forgiveness like people quote and say in the church realm. That's not a Bible verse at all. God doesn't need to put it in a sea and then act like he don't see. Come on now. He sees all things. Okay. The present reality of Adam's forgiveness. What I mean by the word present, I mean taking place, that which is taking place or existing now. The present reality of Adam's forgiveness is not something that has to take place later on. It's something that's taking place right now. It's something that exists right now, in this current time, in this current moment of time, in time, throughout time. Okay? It doesn't impose a problem with God. It's not difficult for God to deal with. God has already dealt with it. There is no problem with it other than the problem that you or others hold in their mind in regards to it. Your present reality, the present reality of your state with God is sound. God is not choking over anything that you did in the past, anything you're doing right now, and anything you'll do in the future. People say, well, then that means we can just go ahead on and sin and do what we want. Well, I'm not even saying any of that, whatever sin is, because I do believe that there are principles And if you want to abide in principle and line up with principle, then there's some things that you need to do and then you need not to do. You don't want to involve yourself in things that you know are necessarily outright offensive to others. You don't want to do things that you know violate your own mental peace and your mental, confidence, your faith. You don't want to indulge in things that would challenge you even the more through your humanity. You don't want those things to occur. There are some natural things that occur, that can occur. Has nothing to do with God per se, in the sense of God being angry or mad or repaying you back, and how people feel that, the reason why AIDS was running so rampant in the 80s and 90s is because, that's when homosexuality became bold and they started coming out this way and that way, and then God struck them down with all of these diseases and all that. I don't believe any of that hocus pocus mess. The Bible says clearly in one verse, he said, who did sin that this man is in this case or in this state? And it says, was it him or was it his parents? And Jesus said it was neither him nor his parents. No one sinned, but that the glory of God. So I know that chokes. People choke on that. What do you mean? God, the glory of God. How does God get glory out of this? And be quiet. With your holy roly self. You've had your mic long enough. Drop the mic and keep stepping. It's time for somebody else to pick the mic up now and give a more accurate, detailed description of your God, our God. Okay, so the word present again means something that is taking place right now. Your forgiveness is taking place right now. Well, I didn't even do tomorrow's sin yet. It's okay. It's being taken care of right now. It's taken care of right now. God ain't choking over it. God ain't mad over it. He ain't twisted over it. He ain't searching and seeking out Adam, wanting to kill Adam. The word reality, first of all, it speaks of real, but reality is something that is actually being right now. It's in existence right now. The present, the right now existence, the present, really the word present and reality have somewhat the same play. They're just like a play on each other. But I did it this way because I'm trying to drill in. It's presently right now. It's a reality because everybody don't work with this reality. Everybody doesn't work with this reality. Everyone cannot accept or even see or fathom this reality. That you mean to tell me that all that I did has yes. You mean to tell me that a Hitler, You mean to tell me that, Judas.
Hold it right there.
You're wrong for sending Judas to hell. You mean to tell me that a lesbian or a homo, yes.
No!
Yes. And check this out. Who even said they need forgiveness? You? Yeah, I know. Your little twisted scriptures, the little 5 or 6 you found in the Bible. Forget all the thousands that are hinged upon the one command to love. Forget all of those. Let's just go find those few scattered ones and let's build a truth mobile out of it. Or should I say, let's build a hell mobile out of it. Let's build a hell flight list. Or should that be a hell submarine list? Because you're going under. I don't know whatever it is, whatever you do to get to hell, however you get there, just a bunch of hocus pocus. Something that's reality is something that's being. It's in existence right now, as opposed to something that's imaginary. Now understand, if you see it to be real within you, if you have that imagination that you're imagining God to be, that you're imagining sin to be, your state to be, as a result of what you've done or have not done, and you idealize it and it becomes part of you and it becomes ingrained in your thinking, well, it's real to you. It's not real to its existence, its actual being, its actual existence, but it's real within you. And then you begin to function and operate in accordance to that, even though it's not real. It's not actual. It's imaginary. It's idealized. Something that's reality is something that has real existence and must be dealt with in real life. Your forgiveness is something that must be dealt with in real life, because you have real life events. You have these real life sequences of events. I'm not even calling them consequences, sequences of events, sequential events that occur. And if you don't have your mind right in its reality or in line with what's real, then when you go through these sequences, these sequential events that your life will inevitably go through and be challenged with, you will see them as consequences to something that you did or something that you didn't do. Just like when they saw the guy who was sick, they said, who did sin that this man is this way? Was it him? Was it his family? You know, you're looking for sin where there is none. You're looking for a punishment where there was none rendered. It had nothing to do with punishment. But to you, if you see it as being punishment because you're not focusing on the real, then it'll become that within you. It doesn't change the realness of what it actually is, the raw facts of what it is. But it changes in your response. It changes how you respond. It changes how you live. It changes where your freedom will lie as far as your mental freedom. And something that's reality, it's the totality of real things in the world. It's independent of people's knowledge or people's perception of those things. See, reality is really that which is outside of you, that which you have no control over. Now, people say we form our reality. I differ with that, and as we go on, I'll show you why I differ with that. Maybe not in this teaching, but in a teaching that's coming up, I think two more topics down the road. But it's the totality of real things in the world. It's independent of people's knowledge or perception of them. Reality is what it is, that's why I say the present reality of Adam's forgiveness. It's a reality whether or not you experience it intellectually or not. See, because if your knowledge is not there in regards to it, then you probably won't experience it in its fullness. If your perception of God is not to the level of where it should be or where it needs to be in order for you to function in the reality of what is in regards to your forgiveness or in regards to God. Remember, your perception of God means everything. That's a good topic. That's a good group of recordings that you might need to listen to. Reality is the real character or nature of a thing. The real character, the real nature of a thing. God deals with your real character, your real nature. Your nature is no longer a sinful nature. Was it ever? Your nature is a righteous nature. Because first Adam, he brought condemnation, and second Adam brought justification and righteousness. You see? So if you're going to follow the storyline, so your actual nature is a righteous nature. But if you don't see this as being the reality, then, it is what it is. But just because you don't believe it, or just because your perception, you cannot perceive it, you cannot wrap yourself around it, it does not change what is. It's not what you imagine or think is possible. It's the real character of nature of the thing. It's not what you imagine. It's not what you think is possible. Why is it possible for us to believe in the present reality of Adam's forgiveness, mankind's forgiveness, all mankind, not just those who went and asked? Because I got one coming up next after this that it's not even you in regards to all of that, okay? Even in your asking, it's not you. You still can't take credit for it. The totality of the real things in the world. It's the real character or nature of things. It's not what you think, what you imagine. It's something reality is something that exists independently of ideas concerning it. It don't matter what type of idea you have in regards to God, in regards to Adam, in regards to sin, in regards to salvation, so-called salvation, and in regards to hell, so-called hell, in regards to the Jesus factor and the finished works of him, or God, or his love, or his mercy and his kindness, and the lamb slain before the foundations of the world. It does not matter how you see it. It does not matter about your ideas concerning it. The reality of Adam's forgiveness is still existent, and it's existing right now, present day, right now. It's the reality. Whether or not you operate fully in that reality is going to be based upon how much knowledge you receive, how welcoming you are to the thoughts, the hearing of such information, what you end up doing with it. Because reality is something that exists independently of all other things, and from which all other things derive from. Everything derives itself from reality. Now, whether you believe it or not is a different story. You didn't know that it was your parents putting those cookies out and that milk out on Christmas Eve and then eating it. You thought it was Santa. It didn't change the reality of the matter. They ate them. They ate those cookies. They drank that milk. Ugh, don't like milk. I hate it. It didn't matter that you thought Santa was coming down your chimney. And poor me, I sure enough thought that. And then I started wondering, well, we don't even have a chimney. This is South Florida. It don't even get cold enough to have a fireplace. I don't remember ever seeing, I'm trying to think in my head. I don't ever remember seeing a fireplace in South Florida. I think one of the first fireplaces I saw that I can remember seeing, I think I went to Georgia to my grandmother, and I think I saw a fireplace at her place, I think. And in South Carolina, I came to my grandfather up here in Carolina, who was from West Palm Beach himself. And I remember seeing a fireplace up here at my grandmother. She was actually my grandfather's second wife. And I remember seeing her family members with the fireplace, but I had never even seen a fireplace, So here I am thinking Santa came down the fireplace. He came down a chimney. There was no chimney. How did I think he was flying up and dropping the sleigh and Rudolph and all of them up on the rooftop, which in Florida, a lot of roofs are flat, but still, he parked them up there real quiet because you never heard him land. And then somehow he got his big, hefty butt down off that roof and somehow, or through that roof, or somehow, got if I even thought further and said, well, maybe he propelled down off the roof and he went in the front door. Did they just leave the front door open for this man, this stranger, to just come in? And how did he just have all of my stuff and their stuff and all those other people's stuff and everything else? Stuff just don't seem right. It just don't seem right. Something ain't right. Okay. So there is something wrong about all of this here crazy nonsense stuff, but we believe it. We believe it. And so we receive it, we receive it at least in our thinking. Okay. Which is so sad, but it's where we are, it's where we are. That's what we've come to. But just because I believe that in this Santa deal does not mean that it changed the reality of what was. It was still my parents. It was still my parents putting that stuff in that house, putting those train tracks together, putting those race tracks together the night before and all of that. And somehow I thought it was Santa. It doesn't matter what you think. The present reality of Adam's forgiveness, the present reality of your forgiveness, the present reality of mankind's forgiveness is not dependent upon your ability to accept it, your ability to receive it. This isn't about an accepting or receiving in the sense of it stopping God from what he's already done. This is independent of you. It's independent of your thinking. God ain't messed up over you or your thinking. He's not going to stop being who he is and undo what he did because you can't see it. You can't form a proper idea or a proper perception of him. You're struggling with the knowledge of the truth. No, reality is that which exists independently of you. It's something that exists independently of all other things and from which all other things derive. God is reality. Our spiritualness is a reality. It's independent of everything else and everything else derived as a result of. Reality is something that has real existence and must be dealt with in real life. It's a fact. It's an event. It's a situation as it really exists. Well, Adam's forgiveness, mankind's forgiveness, everybody's forgiveness, it's a fact. It's an event. It's a situation that we got to really, really, really deal with. It's everything that actually does or could exist or happen in real life. This is happening right now. The present reality of Adam's forgiveness is a right now reality. It's a right now fact, a right now truth. Now, again, you look at the root word of reality and it means real. And real just means existing as fact. The fact of the matter still remains whether you believe it or not, rather than as a product of dreams or the imagination. It's based upon fact. It's based upon observation or experience, and so cannot be disputed. It's undisputed. The reality of whatever God has done for humanity, for mankind, for the Adamic race, for Adam, the present reality of it is fact. It's done. It's complete. You can't do anything to dispute it. I can't do anything to dispute it. Whether I believe it or not, it's a done fact. Period. That's why salvation can't be something that you have to believe in order to receive. It's a fact. Now, that's why I say also God speaks through our events, through our situations, through our experience, through the things that we have to live through the things that we end up observing him do, knowing that it's him, through things that cannot be disputed, because once you experience that thing, in the rawness of it. Don't let anyone convince you or condemn you of your experience. That is your experience. That is unique to you. That was given to you, not to those holy rollies, not for those judgers. Don't let that bother you. God knows what he's doing. God meant what he showed you. He meant what he brought you through. Glean from that. Let that become your truth. Let that become your scripture when you know it was something real. It wasn't something imagined. It wasn't some dream. It wasn't some craziness that comes from imagination or ideas or influences of church and religion and all of that stuff. Make sure that it was true in itself, within its own right. One of the things you get out of reality, one of the words you also see in the word reality, outside of the word real, you get the word realize. To realize something is to know, to understand, to accept, to be aware or conscious of something. In order for it to become reality to you, you got to know it. You got to understand it, and you have to accept it. That doesn't mean that you lose salvation if you don't accept it and you just go to hell and all that other crazy stuff. Let that alone. Drop that off. You have to accept it within yourself. God has said to me on multiple occasions, let it be. Let what I'm doing be what it is. And I'm like, God, you're God. How am I going to stop you from doing what you do? And it's not so much that I'll stop God from doing what he does, because he's going to be God regardless. But if I want to have peace, if I want that peace that passes all understanding, if I want to be on a solid, firm foundation, I have to know, understand, and accept the hand of God in matters. It's to be aware of or conscious of something. That's what this is about, to help you become more conscious, more aware of. It's to gradually begin to understand something that you did not know or notice before. And I believe that's what's happening in this and in so many other things in life. We're gradually beginning to understand certain things that we did not know, or we just didn't take notice of before until now. When it comes to the present reality of Adam's forgiveness or your forgiveness, and where you stand with God as it relates to where you mess up, where you feel you come short at, you can rest in knowing that God's got you covered already. Just keep living. Just keep pushing forward. To realize something is to achieve something that you have planned or hoped for. To fulfill a specific vision or plan or potential. Well, first of all, God had already planned for all of this to happen the way that it did. And it happened the way that it did. And if you are always praying and seeking God and thinking you got to fast and all of this other stuff in order to receive from God, well, guess what? You're already, if you're trying to do that anyway, why don't you instead just try to realize that it's already been done? That it's already happened, that God has already done it. You still achieve the same purpose. The purpose for you doing all that stuff is because you wanted things to come about like you saw them falling in place, and you were hoping that God will forgive you. Well, guess what? He has. So now just accept it. It's not a hard step, not necessarily, though it may take time and process. But if it was your purpose behind all of that fasting and praying, which was to get him to help you complete your destiny and to make sure that everything go as you hope for them to, then this right here just puts you right over into that. Believing that this is a present reality in regards to all of that stuff. One of the other words you will get out of reality, it comes out of the word realm, R-E-A-L-M, a realm. It's an area or domain of thought or knowledge. You know, the present realities of your forgiveness, of mankind's forgiveness, it's like it's in this realm. And that realm is right here present with you now. But because you don't operate in that realm every moment of the day, you're not really truly aware as you should be of that realm. And you therefore do not operate in that realm, or you don't so quickly adjust to that realm of thought, that realm of knowledge. R-E-A-L-M. It's a region, it's a sphere, it's a domain within which something prevails or dominates. In the realm of God, in the realm of your God consciousness, that is a realm where the present reality of Adam's sins, or Adam's sins, are a present reality. Now, let me correct that there. Let me put a little correction there, or an addition there. Adam's realities, or rather the reality of Adam's present day forgiveness in relation to God from the aspect of God. Adam is not to remain conscious, ever aware of what he's done in the past. Not so much to the point that it becomes part of his forefront thought, that it sits on the frontal lobe of his brain, where he's always functioning from that space or that place where his past resides. So Adam is not to see himself from the aspect of his reality being that of his past. His sin, your so-called sin, whatever that curtails, whatever that defines, is not to be the main focus or the front focus of your day, in your day, and definitely not throughout your day and night. That is something that occurred. It is the reality in the sense that it occurred, but it should not be maintained by you, or you should not allow anyone else outside of you to try and push the maintaining of the remembrance of that which was taken place, or that which has taken place in your past, whether your present past, or your near present past, or your past present past, your distant present past. Just let it be what it is. It is the past. It is what it is. And right now, your reality, the reality of Adam, is what it is, even the more. For where sin did abound, grace does much more abound. If you can tap into that realm, that real, present, ongoing existence of Adam's forgiveness, of your forgiveness, of mankind's forgiveness as it relates to so-called sin, you can go somewhere. You can do some things. You can get over some things. You can push forward. Now, if reality deals with facts, and facts deals with truth, then we need to know what truth is. What is true? It's something that's genuine, something that's not pretended. It's something that's not insincere or artificial. This that I'm telling you about Adam's reality as it relates to forgiveness, as it relates to all that forgiveness curtails, this is not some pretense. This is not some twisted idea or some type of hopeful thinking. True deals with that which is real, that which is actual, especially when compared to how something seems to be. That goes back to reality, that which is real, that which is actual, that which is present now, that exists right now where you are. We cling to everything but truth. We cling to everything but what is actual fact, what is actually the case. Because it's easier to cling to things through our five senses than it is to cling to things that come supernaturally or that comes from a source that our five senses hadn't checked at the door, at the gate, to see whether or not it's of God. Well, your senses are going to miss God. The disciples walked with Jesus for years, and then when he died and came back too, and he hadn't even taken on his glorified body, so it says, yet they didn't notice him when he sat right there with them. They didn't notice him when he was walking with them, when he had risen. They didn't even recognize him. So there is a problem there in what our five senses are able to grasp, able to accept, which is why we don't want to get caught up on our five senses. All of that chatter from the church world through our physical hearing, all that chatter from people who quote Bible verses and scriptures that do not coincide with the love, grace, and mercy and actual present reality of Adam's forgiveness. That's that nonsense stuff that'll choke this other stuff out. That's not true. That's artificial. That's insincere. They might be sincere, but they're sincerely wrong as well. Something that's true is something that's based on facts or things that really happen. They're not made up. It's used for admitting that something is true, although you think that something else is also true and is more important. But again, it don't matter what you think. What is the actual truth? What is the fact? Because a fact is something that can be shown to be true, something that exists, something that has happened. Your salvation has happened. Your forgiveness has happened, if indeed there was a need for any of it. And if indeed you're going to take it as literal. It's the truth or actual existence of a thing, as opposed to the supposition or something that you supposed of something or a belief about something. It's a piece of information. It's a statement of the truth. A fact is a statement of the truth. I'm giving you a statement of the truth. Things that are true or that really happened. This has already happened, people. Rather than things that are imaginary or not true. It's used for talking about a situation that is real or true, especially when you want to emphasize a thing. If it's factual, that means it's consisting of the truth, including only those things that are actual. I want to show you in this study that these are actual facts. These are actual truths. Now, again, I go into the spooky book, the book that so many people have used for hundreds and hundreds of years to twist people up and to beat people down and to condemn people and enslave others and incite riots and create wars and annihilate races, whole races, based upon this book. But I'm going to go into this book because I'm bold enough to go into it and show you some truths that despite all the other negative stuff, there are truths there. But I first want to start in part 3. I want to begin by, and I'm going a little over, I want to begin by speaking to you in regards to why some say, and some believe that sins aren't forgiven and the present realities of Adam's forgiveness is not present at all, and it's not a reality yet. So I want to first hit those areas, and then I'm going to bleed right on in, and then I'll begin to make a case, and I'll show it to you scripturally so that hopefully you'll have something hard. Everything that God gives you is not going to be found in this Bible, okay? So you can't look for me to show you everything in this Bible. And they say, well, if he can't show it to you in the word, don't believe it. You know what? I can't show you New Jersey in the Bible, but you better believe it's there. Don't believe it? Go flying through there at 100 miles an hour in a fast vehicle and see if the New Jersey police don't pull you over. Wait a minute, you can't pull me over. There is no New Jersey. You end up with a knot on your head and some cuffs on your arms and a couple of nights in jail and your vehicle towed. Then you realize, that is, now I know there really is a New Jersey. Yeah, and it's not even in the Bible, but you better believe it is. There's nothing in the Bible that talks about a pit bull. But you come up in my yard acting silly and see if one of my pit bulls don't go at you. And you tell them there is no pit bull because it ain't in the Bible. Show me you in the word. Okay. My pit bulls will cause you to begin to speak in all type of words, all types of tongues, all types of curses once they put their teeth into you. But they're not in the Bible. But you better believe they're in my yard. They ain't saved. All right. Let's do this.